Terragon Show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
Hello, Felix. Good seeing you again, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Claudia Rodriguez Ortiz, and I have been involved in studying, learning about different aspects of sustainability for a very long time now, since my studies in environmental systems at MIT. I've been an advisor for both public and private organizations worldwide. I am now co-chairman of a cooperative of farmers, scientists, and residents who want to create a regenerative development zone in one of the largest green areas in the city of Amsterdam. I am the founder of Terragon Nature Lab, a foundation whose mission is to promote regenerative thinking among people of all ages, starting with the children. So, what is regenerative thinking? Since the dawn of time, people in all walks of life, from monks to philosophers, poets and gurus, to physicists, mathematicians and biologists, they have observed that everything is one, that there's a field unifying everything, and that changes made in one part have ripple effects at many other layers. So in chaos theory, mathematicians call this the butterfly effect. That is the notion that a tiny change in one stage can cause large differences in a later stage. So it refers to the idea that the flapping of butterflies' wings creates tiny changes that can ultimately affect or alter the path of a tornado. I find this fascinating. So why is it that knowing all of this, we usually approach complex problems in ways that limit our vision? A very common human characteristic is our tendency to reduce complex challenges to single problems and then solve them individually from only one perspective. And we make decisions without seeing the inevitable and sometimes damaging consequences that our actions have at another end. Take, for instance, industrial agriculture and industrial farming, which were born out of a reductionist approach to secure maximum yield and corporate profits. Yet this has created devastating effects in the environment, such as deforestation, desertification, pollution, and even health concerns. So it's like solving only one face of the Rubik's Cube. Sure enough, you will get all the colors very quickly, but you will scramble all the rest. So regenerative thinking is about focusing on the whole picture and not only on the parts. It's about reframing our challenges from a larger context. It's about understanding the interconnectedness of ourselves, our society, and our natural systems, and acknowledging the value that they have. For me, it's about redefining wealth and creating value for every player in a wider ecosystem. Fortunately, there are a wealth of concepts and practices that support this kind of thinking. And I've been probably studying them all my life without calling them like that. Just to mention a few in these few minutes, regenerative development and design, regenerative agriculture, permaculture, holistic management, and post-growth economics and entrepreneurship. So regenerative development is centered around the idea that the earth can be healed and regenerated not despite, but through human development. So we can think as green as doing less harm, sustainable as doing no harm, and regenerative as doing some good. Let me show you this image. It's created by Bill Reeds from Regenesis, and is used in the book Designing Regenerative Cultures from Daniel Christian Wall. And it is today a popular framework to describe the challenge of regeneration. So at the bottom you have like conventional development, that is like complying with the laws, with the building codes, with the regulations. And sadly, this is clearly degenerating. Then you have green, which is going beyond these minimum benchmarks. And it includes concepts such as corporate social responsibility, green building rates, such as LEED, Green Star, etc. And while these practices are good, at the core, they continue to pursue degenerative growth. So moving on, you have sustainable, which in the true sense of the word is about maintaining but not improving any damage. And then you get into restorative, concepts such as net positive, living buildings, etc. These concepts strive to be good than only being less bad. So it's about making positive handprints. An example of this is a building that produces more energy and water than it uses. And at the top we have regenerative development and design, which is about making a fundamental shift from just making a positive handprint within an existing paradigm to actually approaching development as a whole living system. This means integrating local communities, having an understanding of place and nature, and taking them all as one. Of course, it requires a deeper level of collaboration among stakeholders and a true understanding of place. So at this point, if we are going to conduct any development, sustainability and circular approaches are not enough. We need to restore, regenerate, and leave the place better than we found it. And this is also what regenerative agriculture aims to do. Sadly, agricultural landscapes today are often some of the most degraded lands due to inappropriate grazing practices. But fortunately, there are grazing systems, such as regenerative agriculture, that have proven to regenerate these ecosystems. They focus on enriching the soil quality, increasing the biodiversity, improving the water holding capacity, and has even proved to capture carbon in soil. So instead of competing with nature, it works with nature. Instead of disturbing and killing the soil, it regenerates the soil. It's based on diversity instead of monocultures. It uses holistic instead of reductionist approach. Same as permaculture. It's a design approach based on the principles and values that consider whole living system. Permaculturists are thinking about the next 100 years, and they design healthy ecosystem not only on the short-sighted quick gain. And of course, we cannot talk about regenerative thinking without mentioning holistic management. This is another great inspiration. It's a set of management tools that help us consider the social, the environmental, and the economic perspectives. Holistic management was originated by Alan Savory, an ecologist and livestock farmer, who is a true role model, living role model. And in the 60s, he realized what the causes of degradation and desertification are, which is human management. And by the 80s, he developed together with other managers what is called now holistic management. So using this approach, we can create situations where business, community, and nature have a win-win. Another example of regenerative thinking is post-growth economics. So in conventional economics, a good economy is in steady, infinite growth. and it takes gross domestic product, or GDP, as a measurement of how well society is doing. But post-growth economics, including, for example, the donut economic model, this is the donut here, it challenges this orthodox vision. It recognizes that it is biophysically impossible to keep growing forever, and that it's not all about financial capital, that there are natural and social limits, and that more growth, which, as I said, is often measured by GDP, does not mean more well-being for its people. So I was fortunate enough to be part of a post-growth entrepreneurship boot camp led by Melanie Reback, an ethical hacker and professor in this topic. So post-growth entrepreneurship, or PGE, questions this entrepreneurial common wisdom. It challenges the Silicon Valley model, that you start with a capital injection, then you grow exponentially, you scale, and in the meantime, you have a lot of extraction, which at the end is in the form of an exit. Post-growth entrepreneurship, on the other hand, it is about bootstrapping. It's about, meaning you start with what you have. It's about a flat growth and non-extraction. And Melanie argues that there are ways for entrepreneurs and society to thrive without this extraction and exponential growth. She claims that business can be the greatest form of activism, and that when we stop seeing business as vehicles to create shareholder value, we can start to move society forward. So, as you saw with my previous examples, regenerative practices are not new at all. Many of them have been practiced for decades or centuries. And even though regenerative thinking is very far from being adopted at a mass level, the good news is that there are plenty of examples of regeneration. So if you look at the website regen.earth, there are small and large-scale regenerative projects throughout the world. For instance, Regenesis Group, a leader in regenerative development, has been involved in the planning, design, and execution of over 200 projects around the world since 1995. Savory Institute has more than 47 holistic management hubs around the world and have influenced over 13 million hectares of land. Common Land has also restored millions of hectares across different landscapes and impacted the lives of millions of people. There are even multiple examples of single persons who have regenerated a whole landscape by themselves, one tree at a time. So these examples are true inspirations, and now it's up to each one of us to help in whatever way we can to shift towards more regenerative ways of thinking. I believe that for real transformation, we all need to connect with nature. And that's why at Terragon Nature Lab, we begin by immersing kids in nature at an early age so that they can become the stewards of regenerative thinking for the coming generations. So moving forward, regenerative thinking is about believing that we can turn things around, that we can actually undo the damage done. It's about making conscious choices to help fix the problems that we have created. It's about reframing our challenges, our goals, like thinking, what do we really want to create in our lives and as a community, as institutions, as countries? It's about redefining wealth to include well-being, natural and social capitals. And ultimately, it's about questioning our deeply ingrained cultural narratives that are the ones that drive our decisions and our actions. So I believe that all of us, in our homes and in our own lives, can begin to make a shift to regenerative thinking. So start by creating a statement. What do we want to create in our lives? And base all of our decisions and actions on this statement. So look at the whole picture. Solve the Rubik's Cube by looking at all the faces. And think what if the effect these butterflies flapping will have later on. Thank you.